Hi, greetings, namaskar, sat sri akal, adab. Welcome to my channel. I'm Kubeir, and this is another video in our series of, or rather ongoing series of answering frequently asked questions, burning points, pain points, areas of concern in your PR application to Canada. Today we're going to talk about what happens if your documents get expired or they expire or the validity is expired between the process. Stay tuned and come back quickly. Hi, welcome back. So, expiry of documents. I know it bothers a lot of people. Some of them overthink it. Some of them don't care about it at all. So today we're going to talk about expiry of documents and which documents can cause a havoc in your application if they're expired. I'm going to talk about today your ECA, which is from WES, IQAS, ICAS, EES, or any of the agencies. I'm going to talk about police clearance certificates. I'm going to talk about your IELTS or TEF reports. And I'm going to talk about your birth certificates. Sorry, no, birth certificates are not important for this. I'm going to talk about, what else have I left? Expiry, work experience documents, yeah? Bank documents. Let's talk about expiry of all these documents. So sort of, put everything into perspective. There are two main milestones in your application. Your first main milestone is ITA, receiving an ITA, which is invitation to apply. Until that point of time, your express entry profile will get ineligible if any of your IELTS or ECA expires. After ITA, you must make sure your express entry profile remains valid. When does it become invalid? When does it become ineligible? So your IELTS score expire. So if you do not know, your IELTS validity for your IELTS score is 2 years from the date of the test. Okay. ECA. ECA will always have a date. ECA stands for Educational Credential Assessment, usually issued by any of the 7 accredited agencies. It will have a date of issue. 5 years from the date of issue is the expiry date. So if any of these two documents expire or if it run past their validity date, your express entry profile will become ineligible. It is your duty to ensure that your profile remains valid until you receive ITA and until you submit your application. You receive your ITA based on certain circumstances, your IELTS score, your ECA, your age, okay? It is important that all these circumstances remain the same at the time of filing your application. So yes, we've already covered that your birth date is locked the minute you get your ITA. So if your birth date falls 1 day before the ITA, your points will get reduced by 5. If your birthday falls after you've received your ITA, it will have no effect on your application. Even if your points drop, it will not make any difference. Okay, the visa officers are aware. It is under the ministerial instructions, under the public policy, that they will ignore the change of age after having received the ITA for the purpose of assessment. It is not the same with IELTS. It's not the same with TEF or TEF. It's not the same with your ECA. These documents must remain valid. They must remain valid until you have filed your application and you have received your AOR. Until such date, your IELTS scores, your IELTS record, your ECA must remain valid. There is no specific expiry date of your work experience documents. You could have work experience documents from 5 years back. It's all right. Could have it from 7 years back and it's all right. But the date on that document will decide the work period. So for example, you are claiming work experience for 3 years, but you're from 2015 to 2018, 3 years work experience, but the document has been issued in 2016. Now this document will get you work experience points only for 1 year from 2015 to 2016. There is no expiry date, but the validity date will change based on when it was issued. So please be careful with your work experience documents. Bank letters, bank certificates, certificates of deposit, certificates of a confirmation of your balance issued by the banks, which you will use for proof of funds. There is no specific expiry date, but you must try and maintain that the documents are dated at least within the 30 days prior to submission of your application. Do not submit a letter which was issued 6 months back. It's always going to sort of raise flags, and they will definitely ask you for another one. Anything within 30 days prior to your application submission, the bank documents are fine. More importantly, now we come to the police clearance certificates. You need a police clearance certificate from each country that you have stayed or resided in for 6 months or more in a row, okay? And this is within the last 10 years or after you turned 18 years of age. Now, police clearance certificate is valid for 6 months from the date of issue unless specifically mentioned on the police certificate. So if there is no expiry date mentioned on the police certificate, it's valid for 6 months from the date of issue. This is for your country of current residence, okay? Now, if you have, for example, resided in the United States of America, but currently you now reside in India, you will apply for a police certificate online from FBI. Once you get a police certificate, it will remain valid unless you go back to that country and reside again for 6 months in a row. For all countries where you have applied for the PCC, received the PCC after your 6 months of stay in row, okay, so it will remain valid until you re-enter that country and reside for another period of 6 months or more. Any of these PCCs, if CIC is not happy, they want you to get a new one, they will ask you for it. Your application will not be refused because of these dates. So these are the important dates to be aware of. Be very careful with your IELTS, be very careful with your ECA, be very careful with your proof of funds documents and also your police clearance. These are the expiry dates. Keep them in mind when you're filing your application so that it goes through smoothly. If your PCC expires after your AOR date or after your submission, it will not lead to rejection of your application. If your IELTS expire after you have submitted, it will not lead to rejection. If your ECA expires after you have submitted, it will not lead to rejection because everything gets locked at AOR. Your birth date, your date of birth gets locked on ITA. 2 things to remember, 2 milestones to remember. This is how we continue giving the answers to all your frequently asked questions. Please feel free to comment below and ask other questions which we may have not covered. I'll be happy to make another video, answer more questions for you. Do subscribe to this channel. As you know, I keep posting so much of this content for you to understand, for you to sort of take help from, for you to sort of quench your understanding of what the whole process is all about. We'll keep doing this all the time. Come back again.